Hey guys, a short video I wanted to share today. I'm streaming it live because my life is to the point now I just don't have time to produce videos. So I hope that live videos that have no production are of some value to you. It's a momentous day for me today. I hit 100 pounds of weight loss. January the 9th, 2016. January the 9th, 2016. I weighed a whopping 407 pounds. It was the week of my birthday. My birthday was on the 7th. I spent a week at the casinos. Got home on the 8th. I decided on the 9th to weigh in and to commit to this weight loss. Now, I'd been planning it for a month, but that was the day, the 9th. So I started this journey January the 9th, 2016. Today is, what is today? Today is June the 20th, 2016. I lost 100 pounds. And it's been an interesting and exciting journey, but I wanted to share with you the three big things that I've learned from my 100-pound weight loss. I'm by no means an expert, and I'm not a doctor, and so don't construe anything I say as some kind of medical advice, or it's just my opinion from hard-earned experiences. I actually lost 60 pounds and gained it all back after an injury that made me nearly immobile and then depressed me. And then I had to regroup and redouble my efforts and start again. And I used all those lessons I learned the first time to start the second time. And then I've learned a lot of lessons along the way this time. And so these are the three big lessons that I've learned in losing 100 pounds. And it's because of these things, primarily number one, but it's because of these things that I know I'll never be 407 again. I just will never be 407 again. Once you understand why we are overweight, once you understand the mechanism, this is for most people. Now, of course, there's outliers to any set of data. There's people who are overweight because they really do just stuff their face with food all the time. Although I'll say this, that they will eventually wind up with what I'm about to talk about if they do that long enough. Most people that just can't lose weight, and they're always overweight, and they continue to gain weight year after year, especially if you're older, but it starts when you're very young. It's because of insulin. Insulin is the fat hormone. Insulin is the energy hormone. Now, insulin is the key that opens up the door to your cells to let glucose in, okay? And when you start out young and you have no problems, insulin knocks on the door of your cells, muscles, etc., and says, I'm here. Would you like some energy to burn today? And your cells are like, okay. And insulin unlocks the door, or either the cell opens the door, however you want to look at it. And insulin ushers in some glucose, and then it's on about its way. Okay? So in a well-functioning body, people who aren't overweight, this happens pretty effortlessly. You consume, food which has glucose, sugar in it, and your insulin is running around as soon as that comes in. It's like, hey, cells, I've got some sugar for you. And the cells are like, oh, bring it on in. But after a while, your body and your cells become insensitive to insulin. It's called insulin resistance. So what happens is your cells start rejecting it. The insulin brings so much sugar by so often, your cells just start resisting, and you become insulin resistant. So your body responds by pumping out more insulin to demand that the cells open up and allow the sugar that you're eating in. And this trend exacerbates itself over and over and over. Over a period of time, your insulin levels continually have to stay really, really high, and eventually it leads to type 2 diabetes. Okay, this is how you get to type 2 diabetes. It starts out as insulin resistance. So if you're overweight, you probably have this problem. So what's the problem with rushing out more insulin? Why is this such a huge problem? Well, insulin is a signaling hormone for something else. It's a signaling hormone for fat storage. When insulin levels are high, your body will not burn fat. It stores it. This is a signal to the body to store fat. So you have two things happening. One, your insulin can't shuttle in the glucose into the cells as well. So your cells don't get all the energy you give it. This is why overweight people say, I am hungry all the time no matter how much I eat. I want you to imagine that, and the percentage is different for everybody, so I'm just going to use a hypothetical percentage, okay? Let's say that your insulin is only able to escort in 80% of the energy into the cells that it used to be when it worked well, before your body was insulin resistant. So before your body was insulin resistant, 100% of the energy, the glucose and everything that your insulin tried to escort into your cells for you to use, it uptook it with no problem. Now you're insulin resistant, so the cells they're not having it. Your insulin can only get about 80% of it in there. You're only getting 80% of the energy you're eating. That's why you're hungry. And for some people, it's even less. The insulin is only able to get 70% into the cells, or 60%, or 50%. And so what's left? Well, all that leftover glucose, that leftover energy gets shuttled to the liver, and the poor liver has to deal with it. This is why kids and overweight people that are very young are now getting fatty liver disease. It's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So much sugar, it's overwhelming the liver. The liver doesn't know what to do with it. It's using a process called, I think it's called glucolipogenesis, I believe is the name. I'm not a scientist. It's something like that. But your liver transforms that sugar into fat, and it does anything it can with it. I mean, it starts out by trying to shuttle it to fat cells. Some of it just stays in the liver, and then your liver gets fat, which means your liver doesn't work as well, and then you have more problems, and they just compound and compound and compound. So your insulin is dumping sugar in the liver. Your insulin level is high, which tells your body not to release any fat that you have. And on top of that, your liver is desperately trying to convert all of this fat, or this sugar rather, into fat to store it. It's got to do something with it. You can't have all this sugar running around in your bloodstream or you'll die. So your liver's desperately trying to save you. Meanwhile, you're gaining weight, which continues to exacerbate the problem. So the key to weight loss is to not worry about calories, it's to worry about insulin. If you want to lose weight, stop worrying about counting calories and try to affect your insulin. This is why a whole food vegan diet works well, which is how I started. I started my weight loss journey on a whole food vegan diet, and I lost right at 60 pounds doing that. I'm now ketogenic, and it's the same reason the ketogenic diet works. You are not flooding your body with a bunch of sugar that it can't handle. You're giving your body a break, and so your insulin level actually gets to come down, which allows your body to release fat that it's stored for fuel. It's really very simple. It's very simple. So I'm going to compare the two things quickly. The first one, the vegan diet, which has got to be a whole food vegan diet. Can't be junk food vegan, but you're eating fresh produce and fresh fruits and things from the produce section primarily. That's what you're eating. Well, these things have a lot of fiber. So let's say that you're eating some type of green or some kind of, or broccoli or something, and a cup of it has, let's say, 3 to 4 carbs. Well, 2 or 3 of those carbs are fiber, which is processed and moves right through the body. You don't eat that. You don't get the carbs from that. You know who gets the carbs from that? Your gut microbiome, the bacteria. They use that. So it goes through. So you may be getting 3 or 4 carbs, but your body is only digesting one of the carbs and trying to get that carb spread out. So you need very little insulin for that. Your insulin stays low. This is why a vegan diet works for weight loss. It's why it's phenomenal for weight loss. It's not because those other things you've been told. It's about one thing. It's about keeping insulin levels low. If you keep insulin levels low, your body will burn fat. The longer the period of time you can keep insulin levels low, the more fat you'll burn. This is why fasting causes weight loss. This is why when you stop eating, your body will start burning the fat that it's stored. Like if you go on a 7-day fast, you're probably going to lose 3 pounds or something. I mean, it depends on how overweight you are. Why? After about a day and a half, your insulin level will be down pretty low. After 2 days, it'll be about as low as it'll get. And your body can then start releasing the fat. This is why when you fast, the 18 to 24 hour mark is the hardest. You will have hunger. Hunger the first day will be bad. Hunger the second day will be horrible. But after you get past the 18-hour mark to around the 24-hour mark, somewhere in that range, it varies by person, your insulin level will have finally hit a point that's low enough that your body will start releasing fat. And once your body starts releasing the fat that you've stored, bam, you have energy. Your body has energy again, and it feels fine. And most people, I'd say 99% of people who fast, after the second day into the third day, you get a rush of energy and you feel great, and you could actually keep fasting for a long time. It's really not a problem. It's the first 2 days that are hardest. Nevertheless, that's just a measure of proof for this concept of insulin. Insulin is what releases fat. So, I'm going to do a 3-part series. This is the first thing that I've learned. Thing number 1 that I've learned by losing 100 pounds. And that is, stop stressing about the calories, and you need to stress about your insulin. Your one goal in life shouldn't be to keep calories to 1,500. It shouldn't be to keep calories to 1,200 or 1,800 or whatever arbitrary goal you've set for yourself. Your goal should be to keep your insulin level as low as you can, as often as you can. And there's two means by which you can do this. One is food. The second is fasting. Now, I don't mean 7-day fasting like we were talking about. I'm talking about intermittent fasting, and I'll describe that briefly. So 10 minutes into the video, here's the meat and potatoes of the video, okay? Number one, food. You want to eat whole, real food. If it comes from the real place in the supermarket, you can eat it. Okay? I know I have a lot of vegan fans on here, so for you, yes, that means the produce section. By and large, for you, that's where you're going to go. You want to stay away from things like watermelon. Watermelon doesn't have much fiber in it. And I know I used to eat a ton of watermelon, and I wondered why it impeded my weight loss, because, it's vegan food. It's healthy. Well, there's hardly any fiber in watermelon. The sugar just rushes right in. On the other hand, there are some fruits that have higher amounts of fiber in them, and you can eat them just fine. The key is you want to keep your carbs down to as close to 20 or less a day as possible. That's net carbs. Now, your total carbs will be much higher than that, especially if you're vegan. You know, you can eat like a cup of greens and it's a carb. Well, that's 20 cups of greens you can have in a day. You wouldn't have a lot of calories. I think there's about 30 calories in a cup of greens, so you'd have like 600 calories. You'd be full, though. So you want to eat some stuff more calorically dense than greens, but you get the idea. You want your net carbs to be around 20, 25 max, but for most people, 20, and I would try to start out at that. For people who aren't on a vegan diet, you want to eat whole, healthy meats. You want grass-fed meats. You want butter from grass-fed animals. You want to eat whole cheeses, not Kraft singles. No, a whole, real cheese, real cheese. And you look at it and it'll say no carbs or less than 1 carb. So that's number one, is diet. You want to keep your carbs to 20, and you want to keep your fat levels up. So for my vegan friends, you can do it. I plan on going back vegan at some point. I'm not now. I should say plant-based, because vegan is a philosophy, plant-based is a diet. I plan on going back plant-based at some time. And I have done plant-based, low-carb, ketogenic eating, but it involves consuming, lots of things like oils. You're going to, olive oil is a big part, coconut oil is a big part, avocado oil is a big part of it, and nuts are a big part of it. Your proteins and your fats will primarily come from nuts and things like that. But you want to keep your fats high. Protein doesn't need to be high, but you want to keep your fats high and you want to keep your carbs low. That's the key. That's the secret. When you eat fat, your body learns to burn fat, and fat doesn't affect the insulin, so the insulin stays low. And so not only you're training your body to burn fat, you're keeping insulin low, so your body will release fat so you can burn it. All right, so that's strategy number one. Strategy number two is you want to implement intermittent fasting. Now, we talked about keeping insulin as low as you can for as long as you can. Reduce the time you eat. We talked about what you eat. So what you eat is block one. The time that you eat, shrink it down. Shoot for a maximum of 8 hours a day. For me, and I'm never hungry, by the way. Rarely am I hungry. That's the beautiful thing about a ketogenic diet. It's because your body isn't craving carbs all the time. That's what causes hunger. When you eat carbs, you get the insulin response, and then the insulin drives the sugar down, and here comes hunger. And it's up and down. On a ketogenic diet where your body burns fat, and you have fat on you, so when you run out of fat you eat, it just goes grab some fat that you have on you, your hunger level stays like this all the time. Pretty much. You're always the same amount of hunger. You pretty much eat when you just decide to eat, which is a beautiful thing. But intermittent fasting is the thing. So eat within an 8-hour window. So for me, my first meal is at around noon. 12, 1 o'clock in the daytime. My last meal is 6 or 7 in the evening. And I only eat twice a day. I don't need to eat 3 times a day. I'm rarely hungry. So think about it. Let's say I ate yesterday, I think I ate 6:45. It was my last meal. From 6:45 yesterday afternoon all the way to today, and I just ate 45 minutes ago, which would have been around 12:15. So from 6:45 yesterday to 12:15 today, there was nothing keeping my insulin up. Nothing. My insulin continued to drop until it bottomed out, and that let my body burn fat while I was sleeping. Who wants to burn fat while you're sleeping? Can I get an amen, as the preachers would say? So I'm coming on 15 minutes. I don't want the video to be too long, but that's number one. It's the number one thing I learned. If you embrace that, you will be shocked at how fast your body will release fat. Your body does not want to keep the fat on you. It's doing it because it doesn't have any other choice. It's doing it because the fat-releasing hormone in your body is high all the time. and it just can't release it. Meanwhile, your liver is desperately trying to process all this sugar and carbohydrate, and it just doesn't know what to do with all of it. So you're building up fat in your liver, and then what fat isn't being built up in your liver is being shuttled into your fat cells, and it never gets to come out. Fat cells, for people who are overweight and are insulin resistant, which is pretty much everybody that's overweight, fat cells are like prison with a life sentence. And the fat is never coming out of the cell. Now keep in mind, there's two parts to fat. There's the cell, and then there's the fat, the lipid that's inside the cell. Fat can move in and out of the cell. Okay? The problem is when insulin is high, the fat, it's like the old Roach Motel commercials for roaches. Roaches check in, but they don't check out. Well, that's why you continue to get fatter and fatter every year. The fat checks into the fat cell, but it never ever gets out. Insulin is always up here, and it just never gets out. Look, I'm going to stop the video now. I've had a couple people that pretty much watched the whole time, which is remarkable. It's been a long video. I don't want to skimp on the video, and I'm not doing editing, so you're just going to get what you get. But I want you to know that if you will learn that one thing, if you will keep your insulin low, the fat will drop off of you in ways you can't possibly imagine. I've been doing this for 1 year and 5 months. I've lost 100 pounds. My average weight loss is still the same as it was basically when I started. Now, the first month I lost a lot of weight. That's for everybody. First 2-3 weeks, a lot of that was water. But since then, I've been losing between 1 pound and 2 pounds a week consistently. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. As a matter of fact, I keep meticulous logs. I just looked back over my record, and I think I've had 5 different weeks where I gained weight. And I'm talking about 1/2 pound or 3. I think 1 week I actually gained 1 pound or something. But there's been 5 weeks out of all those weeks where I didn't lose weight. Okay? It's just consistent. It's just consistent. The body is shuttling the fat out, and your body's burning it because insulin is low. Hey, thanks for listening. Comment below if you have a question. I want to help you. I want to do all that I can to help you. I have a podcast you can subscribe to, so when you're riding to work, pop the earbuds in and listen to it. It's called Fatguy Podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcast, which formerly they called iTunes or whatever. They make me say that now. It's on the Google Play Store. And message me. Find me on Facebook. Message me there. Fat Guy Podcast. I'm on Instagram. Fat Guy Podcast. And I'm on Snapchat, which I dearly love. Matter of fact, I just posted my lunch that I had today on Snapchat. You can add me on there as well. It's Fat Guy Podcast. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.